Throughout my life, I've had all kinds of both good and bad dreams, but this one was just weird. I'm not sure how you would describe it, so I'll let you decide. In this dream, I found myself inside my elementary school cafeteria. My girlfriend worked for a local community outreach helping to give kids and families meals that couldn't afford them. I'll call her Emily for privacy reasons. She would do this Monday through Friday and would get the weekends off. I liked this because that meant that she and I could be together and do what we wanted. One day I got off work early, so I came to visit her. I looked around for her, but I couldn't find her anywhere. One of her friends came up to me and pulled me aside, asking if I was looking for Emily. I said, "Yes, I am. Have you seen her?" She started thinking of the last place she had seen Emily, but she couldn't remember. I asked other people around, and each gave me the same response. Puzzled, I tried calling her, but she never answered. Sometime later, I was going down the road one night, and I passed by our local church that Emily and I attended. I turned into the church, parked my car, and went in through the side door. Inside, the church was pitch black, except for the red exit sign on the other side of the church directly in front of me. After going in, I tried to flip on the light switch, but it didn't work. I looked ahead and the lights to the church foyer suddenly faded on. I walked in further and I noticed this janitor mopping the floor. He turned towards me as I got closer to him. I was startled a little before asking, "I'm looking for my girlfriend. Have you seen her?" He said nothing but pointed into the direction of the sanctuary. So what did I do? I went inside. The sanctuary was barely lit. The only lights that were on were the dim chandeliers and the stone columns on the stage. It was just enough light for me to see where I was walking. I looked all around, walking slowly. I saw nothing but black silhouettes of humans everywhere. They weren't doing anything, they were just sitting in chairs or standing depending on where in the sanctuary they were. All of them were dressed in rags and were covered in blood. Each silhouette had a wound on their body showing how they were killed. I continued walking forward and noticed one silhouette that looked very familiar. I got it closer to look, but I didn't recognize it. Not far away, I saw other familiar silhouettes. It was my family. My brother, my cousin, my grandparents, my nephew and niece. All of them dead from natural causes. Then I heard the sanctuary doors open and I saw a man walking with a black figurine on a dolly in front of him. He didn't seem to notice me as he never said a word or even looked at me as he passed by. He came to the two empty chairs next to my nephew and niece and placed down two more silhouettes. I looked closer and realized the black figures I was looking at were my parents, holding their hands together with a gunshot wound in my father's head and stab wounds in my mother's torso. I began to cry until I saw something that scared me even more. There was one chair remaining with a sign marked "Reserved" with my name written across the bottom. I opened my mouth in horror, continued crying, and began to freak out. This was almost too much for me until I directed my attention toward the stage. When I did, I saw a silhouette that was identical to Emily's figure, surrounded by other silhouettes on stage. I began to cry even harder as I made the figure out to be Emily herself, standing behind the keyboard. I approached with caution, only to discover that Emily, once just frozen like a statue, had suddenly jolted her head in my direction, looking dead into my eyes. My heart began racing. My insides jumped with fear. I then heard a demonic voice out of nowhere ask,
"What are you doing here?"
I was terrified at this point. I answered with a shake in my voice, I'm looking for my girlfriend." There was a pause for a moment before the voice responded.
I'm the one you seek. Come.
Emily's silhouette began to move, walking from her spot down the sanctuary stairs and into the back room where most of the church storage was kept. This room was dark except for moonlight provided from a single window. I hesitated for a moment, but ended up walking inside. The backroom door suddenly slammed shut behind me, and the silhouette shoved me against a wall just to the left of the door, my only method of escape. The wall had chains tied to it, and Emily secured them to my hands, extending them in a 45-degree angle. At this point, I knew I wouldn't be able to escape. The chains were just too tight on my wrists. I then saw the razor-sharp teeth of the figure preparing to bite down onto my neck. I screamed and cried, trying to break free, but just before she had the chance to bite me, I woke up gasping for air and afraid of going back to sleep again. The weirdest part about this was, at the time I had this dream, I never had a girlfriend, but the girl in the dream was this girl I liked in middle school. It may seem weird to some of you, and I admit it does for me too when I think back on it. But one thing is certain, I will never be able to get this dream out of my head. It was the scariest nightmare I've ever had in my life, the closest thing to a demon I've seen, and I hope I never dream this experience again.